on your sumo squat. Wonderful. All right, so the next one are hip circles. This is just nice, easy movement. It's not supposed to be a hold. It's just supposed to be a movement with it. So you're going to have in and out. This is a technique that is used by a lot of soccer players. It's used by a lot of football players. It's used by a lot of athletes who just need their hips to start getting some more mobility in them. Okay? What you do is you stand on one leg, you bring the other leg up, out, and down. Take a couple steps, other side up, out, down. And so it's going to look here, couple steps, here, couple steps. It's going to be almost like you're like little dancing in place. It should feel kind of good. Don't hold it for too long. Make sure your stomach's engaged. Does that feel good for everybody? Yeah, it should feel really opening for your hips, because your hips don't get much opening whenever we're in kayak. Like, they almost get more tight. You need hip mobility is what you need, okay? Your hips need to be pretty mobile. If they're not, then you're compensating with using your hip muscles instead of your core, okay? So that was going out. Now we also go in. Couple steps, in, couple steps, in. It should feel, same thing, pretty lovely. Especially if you have a little bit of tightness in your hips. Any question on those? They feel good for a majority of people? Same thing, just getting things moving a little bit. Okay? It also gets your core engaged. It's amazing how that works. Cool.
Thank you.
It's nice, isn't it? It's so nice. Right? I know. All right, so the next one, I had envisioned with everybody having a PFD, and that you would have a PFD to kneel on, okay? So if you have a PFD, take it off, and let's put it on the ground and use it. If not, I'm sorry about your knees ahead of time. Yeah, Scott did great. Use that flip-flop. All right, so what you're going to do with this one, you have your front leg. You have the same side arm on that front leg. Everybody raise that arm up. Perfect. That arm goes right next to it on the inside. Opposite. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Then what you do is you look outward and you raise up to the ceiling. And then you come back down. Don't hang out there. Just go up there and come back down. And so you're going to go out and then come back down. How does this feel for everybody?
Good back stretch.
Yeah, it's a great back stretch. If you are spread too far out, then you're going to get more of like a groin stretch. Bring that front foot in just like towards your other knee a little bit. Okay, it's not a hip stretch, it's actually a back stretch. Awesome.
Is this thoracic? Or?
It is thoracic. So you talked about thoracic mobility. What do we need to rotate?
So what does it mean if it's rhomboids between the spine and the
What are you saying?
This right here, the rhomboids, muscle?
Yep, but it also is a little bit of your spine too. So you got rhomboids, you got lower trap down through here. So question was what does he feel right through here? So you have your, what now?
It's really tight when I stand up.
Yep, so that's actually you're feeling a referral pain from your thoracic spine out to the side, AKA your mid-back's tight. It needs a little bit of movement. So let's have everyone try it on the other side, okay? So the same thing, raise up the hand that's closest to that's on the same side, put that down, then you look back up at the ceiling. You will find that you have one side that moves a whole lot better than the other side. Why?
Yes.
Just kind of how you're built, what you tend to go towards. There's a whole lot of litany of reasons why for each. The one that feels more stiff, that feels better to do, is probably the one that you really need to do warming up. And it also probably explains that you turn better to one side versus the other side. Because if you don't rotate enough to make that turn and to initiate that stern as well, then you're not going to get that turn as well. Okay? Same thing if you squirt. Like, if you go out there and you go for a squirt line, and you out of the eddy or into the eddy, one, and you don't squirt quite as well one side or the other side, this exercise will help you even your sides out just from a mobility standpoint. Does that make sense to everybody? Everybody think about which side is harder for them to turn to. Think about that in your brain right now. Now, which side was harder for you to do? Open it up to the left, open up to the right. Does it add up? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? That just your mid-back rotation would matter so much. The reason why you were in this strange, weird position is because if I flex your low back, then that locks it down. It makes it where it doesn't move. And so the only movement I can get is in your mid-back. That's why you're in this crazy position going. That's why some of the other positions later on in this exercise sequence are one in standing, where we get full body, and then one in a kayaker stance, where I flex your low back. That is where we get more thoracic rotation. Okay? For C1ers, you still want to be in the kayaker stance whenever you're in these exercises because it's just to lock down your low back. And you'll find that you have even probably a bigger differentiation between side to side. Cool. Any questions? Sweet. All right. Maybe not. So next one actually goes into that shoulder activation rotation. So not only do we need to move our mid-back, we also probably need to use our shoulders when we do that, right? Probably a good idea to warm them up a little bit, get them going, get some stability through there so we don't dislocate and so we don't injure our shoulders when we're doing it. And so first one is that you just press your palms together and you turn. When you come back to start, open up, repress, turn. Come back to start, open up, repress, turn. And you'll feel different muscles working in your shoulders and in your pecs that you didn't really notice that you had before. Just a nice engagement for that. Okay? You do that in standing and in kayaker stance. Why do we do it in kayaker stance?
Because we're kayaks.
Isolate the spine more, locks down your low back. So let yourself kind of slouch a little bit. It's fine. That's how we sit in the boat. Okay? Press, rotate. Come back to start, relax, press, rotate. Come back to start, relax, press, rotate.
How hard are you pressing?
Decently hard. I tell people it's like you're fighting yourself. Good. Any questions on those two? So while we're down here, we'll go ahead and add in the other part. So the other part is where you press one on top of the other. Always have the one that's on top, the side that you're going towards. Okay? So press together, rotate. Come, flip, press, flip, rotate, come, press, flip. And you'll find that this warms up more of your shoulder blades than the last one did. It should feel kind of nice, especially if you have shoulder issues. It should feel a little relaxing and relieving for it. If you have pain with it, don't press as hard. Okay? Just a simple thing, just don't press quite as hard. Don't fight yourself quite as much. Sound good? We do the same thing in standing. Press, rotate. This is where we get full spine movement. So not just isolating our mid-back, but also we get low back and stuff in too. Sweet. How's this feel for everybody? Should feel nice, like you're getting things moving, you're getting things warmed up. Not going to get quite as tight as soon when you start. Exactly, like you're like, oh man, I was starting to get my body moving better. This is wonderful. All right, So the next one is to get our, oops,
When we were dealing and opening up versus this last move, it's the opposite as far as what was more difficult. Before, when we were in this position, it was hard to come on this side, but when we were doing this, it was easy.
it's kind of with shoulder movement. So now you're not only activating and thinking about just your mid-back. So the question was, is that he feels tighter the opposite way that he felt whenever he was doing this one. You're activating more muscles to help you. So sometimes you have a mobility disorder, and sometimes you have a muscle control disorder. And so if you have a mobility disorder, this one is going to tie out, as well as a motor control. Okay? And so sometimes you're not stiff, you just don't actually know how to activate the muscles to get there. When you do here, you activate more muscles, and so that helps you get there. So your mid-back might not be quite as stiff, but you might actually need to strengthen. Does that make sense? That's kind of an aside that's a little bit, that's getting into the weeds a little bit.
Scott, she threw out this order. You want to take a shot at it?
No, I was actually just going to say, I'm going to go set course.
Cool.
So that in the 10 or 15 minutes that are left here, that you guys will have the course and it'll be all set up when you guys get done. See you guys.
Any questions on that? It's kind of a hard notion to say. Does that make sense to you?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, we'll chat more later about it.
Sure, thanks.
All right, so the next one is seated hand taps. So you're going to be back in the seated position. Has anybody ever done the Russian twist exercise? Yeah. So this is basically it, okay? Except for your feet are not up and holding. Feet are nice and relaxed. You're just going to slouch back in, let your low back flex, or kind of like slouch into it, and then you're just going to tap. Do about 20 taps on each side. Feel how it gets your core engaged, it gets that mid-back moving, gets your low back moving a little bit. Don't let your hips get tight. If you feel tightness in the front parts of these legs, engage your core more. Probably feels really good to everybody. Awesome. So make sure you're not up tall. Slouch. Let your sit bones come up and forward. Sit on your butt. It's made for that. Okay? If you don't slouch, it's going to be harder. Okay? If you try to sit up, you'll probably have some hip tightness with that. Okay? So make sure you slouch into it. Low back goes down. Make sense? Make sure that we don't do another one on the ground. Yeah, we're standing next. All right, everyone up. So this is another one that's just kind of focused on mid-back movement, arm movement. It's gorilla swings. Has anybody done this? It's not the most common exercise. So you stick your butt out, and then you start turning your body, and that turns your arms. But all your force generation is from your trunk. It's not from your arms. So arms don't make it happen. Arms are nice and loose. Okay? That's why it's called gorilla arms. Make your arms nice and loose and long. Just nice and easy, just follows just as it should. It should be a little bit like a little quicker of a movement, but nice and flowy. Any question with that? Does that cause anybody pain? Low back pain at all or anything like that? Perfect, wonderful. Good job, guys. All right, so now we do a little bit more controlled movement in the same way, but focus a little bit more on our neck. Okay, so your same bent over position, arms are bent, and you're going to turn and rotate and look. Arm follows your body. Do a couple like that, and then do a couple where you're just looking down. Both are going to feel really nice, and both are really needed for going down the river. How's that feel for everybody?